Hello. And we are live. Oh, I've got an echo somewhere. That's weird. Yes, welcome to Living Your Best Live, or if you're on Facebook, then it's #HumpDayHelp. So today I'm talking to the lovely Laura, who is something of an expert in alopecia and autoimmune diseases and hair loss. So this is going to be quite an interesting conversation today, I think, to find out a bit more about that. I was fascinated when I spoke to her a few months ago. So we've not known each other very long. She's another person that I met on the coaching program that I started in October and finished in January. And yeah, she's just super cool. And I thought, let's get her on for a chat and find out a bit more about what she does so that you lovely people know what she does too. And you can connect if that's something of interest to you. So let's bring in Laura. Hey, Laura.
Hi.
I'm loving the pink. I'm all about pink. And you're rocking the pink stunningly today. You look marvellous, I think.
Thank you. Jumpers don't need ironing is what I will say.
Yeah, I'm all over that. I just kind of live in these and leggings. It's literally kind of wash it, put it back on again. No need for the ironing pile, which is what I like. Yeah. But enough of my domestic... well, certainly not domestic bliss, is it? Domestic tardiness, shall we say. Tell us about you. So tell us a bit about who you are, what you do.
Okay, so I'm a functional health coach, which means that I help people to make changes predominantly with regards to their health. And I use a functional approach, which means whole body. So looking at everything, because we're all connected. It's not like if something goes wrong with one bit of you, it's still connected to the rest of you. So, and that's what's kind of different to, for example, if you see a conventional doctor where they look very much at, you go in saying you've got a headache and they ask you questions about your head. It could be anything. You could be it could be an allergy to something you've eaten, but it's showing up as a headache. So that's what I do.
Wow. See, that sounds, I find that kind of stuff fascinating, but it feels like it must be huge. There's so much to that then, isn't there? Knowing what all those links are and how different things impact on each other. So that must have taken you some time to get into that.
Yeah, it did. And I was my coaching program was a year-long course. It was really intensive. It was partly focused on the functional approach, partly focused on just how you coach. And then there was also a third track, which was kind of unusual, which was all about basically, I guess, making me a better person. So meditation, journaling, stuff I'd tried perhaps in the past and not been too successful with. But then, I learned things like when you journal, it changes your brain chemistry. I'm like, well, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, wasn't
I'll do
expecting
that some more. Yeah.
Brilliant. So I'm interested in, obviously, I know about your son who had alopecia, and I assume part of, why you do what you do is kind of rooted in understanding that struggle and knowing what it was like as a parent to support him through that. So tell us a bit more about that. What's the story there behind why you're so passionate about helping people with this stuff?
Well, it started when, he started to lose his hair in fact, just before he was a teenager. He was 12. And we saw basically every single doctor going. We got referrals all over the place. We saw different pediatric dermatologists, pediatric gastroenterologists, allergists, immunologists, you name it. We saw everyone. And that took a really long time. It literally took years to do that. And in that time, he got progressively worse, which meant that he lost all of his hair. So he was a bald teenager, which is not fun, apparently, according to him. It's something that, he really feels quite strongly about, that it had a negative impact on his high school years. And I think the hardest thing, though, was just not being given any hope. That, if a doctor tells you, yeah, sorry, that's it, there's really not much else we can do, like a lot of people, initially I did accept that. And it was only afterwards when I continued doing more research, I thought, well, hang on, other people get their hair regrowing. It's not, there's no cure for alopecia, but what you can do is effectively get it into remission, which means that your body stops attacking your hair follicles, which means your hair grows, which for most people, that's enough. That makes them really happy. So it was, I guess, persistence and just carrying on and eventually seeing a functional medicine doctor. And I guess, like a lot of English people, you don't automatically go there as a default. You go through all the things that you see your GP, you go through the different NHS referral systems, which again takes months and months and months. And during that time, you're not getting any better. And like in my son's case, you're getting worse. So eventually we found functional medicine, and that was literally, it was like a little sparkle of hope, for want of a better description, because they were saying, okay, yeah, we can get to that root cause. We can find out what triggered the alopecia. And once we know what that is, we can address it. And that was incredibly powerful, because it literally, for the first time in years, it did give us both hope.
Yeah, and that's really important, isn't it? Because I think sometimes it's like life happens to you, isn't it? It's like these things happen and there's nothing you can do about it. Whereas at least when you realise that, it may not come to anything, it may not solve it, but just that little grain of hope gives you something to sort of hang on to, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I think the other thing as well, which was incredibly powerful, that at the time I didn't understand, but now as a coach I do understand, is that, it actually gave us an action to take as well, a positive action, versus, being all despairing and what am I going to do? And this is awful. And you're going to be stuck being bald for the rest of your life. It was like, well, actually, one, there is something you can do. Two, start with this. This might not work, but you know what, it might. Let's just try it. And just having that kind of open view with regards to let's try this and see, and let's experiment. And if that doesn't work, we'll try something else. And that just completely opened up everything. And it, like I said, because we then started taking action, he started seeing results. And that, I guess, began to perpetuate itself, because as soon as you start to see results, you're like, oh, okay, this is working. This isn't a load of guff, for want of a better expression.
Yeah, I think it kind of snowballs, doesn't it? Once you see that you're able to have an impact and influence something that's really important to you, it helps you to do more of, doesn't it?
Yeah. And especially in his case, because, he was 100% bald. He was shiny bald. There was nothing there at all. His brows had gone, his lashes had gone. And, they're not just there to look pretty. They do jobs. Like anyone with alopecia will tell you, one of the worst things is things blown into your eyes and, just stuff going up your nose. It's a really, it's a difficult disease, and it's not just from a looks point of view. There are actually practical reasons why you have eyelashes and brows and nasal hair.
Yeah, I never even thought of that, to be honest. And like my granddad had alopecia as well. So he had hair in the beginning, sort of thing, but obviously from when I was a child, he never had any. And but you get used to that, don't you? That's what you're used to. But yeah, he had no eyebrows or eyelashes either. And I never thought about things going in your eyes and when you'd shower and stuff, I suppose the water's going to run straight down your face as well, isn't it? Whereas your eyebrows kind of divert it off a little bit. Gosh, yeah.
Yeah. And also, especially with eyebrows, it's, they frame your face. And once your brows go, it can, like, everybody kind of looks the same without eyebrows. And it's almost a little bit easier for women, because it's more socially acceptable for a woman to go and get her brows microbladed. Whereas, a 14-year-old boy is not going to have microbladed brows. He wouldn't even be able to get that procedure done. So,
gosh.
Yeah.
And how long did it take for him to get his hair back?
It took best part of a couple of years, but he was, like I say, he was coming from having no hair versus quite a few of my clients, they're not at that no hair point. It hasn't progressed to that stage. So it's easier to come back from it if you're dealing with patches versus, complete hair loss. So it took him a while, and it was one step forward, two steps back. But I think one of the things which has really helped in his case is he now fully understands his body. Like, he knows there are certain foods that he can't touch because he'll lose his hair. It literally is that simple. And he's a teenage boy. He's gone through that process of, well, I'm going to have loads of milk because I think milk's really healthy. He does talk like that. And yeah, he started getting some loss again, and it was like, okay, that's a pretty big sign there. So, you live and learn. It's just, I mean, I think it's really hard for teenagers because obviously they're very focused on how they look. Life does just seem, I guess, more intense at that particular age as well. So it can be really difficult.
Wow. And I'm sure it's different for everyone. So it's not a case of being able to go, oh, what food should you eat then? But is there kind of just a high level overview that you can give us a sense of how what you do work, the type of thing that people might need to change in order to improve
really
their
depends on what the individual trigger is. So, for example, I mean, I could be very easily triggered by stress. And if that was the case, then for me, I would really need to have in place a really good stress management program. But your trigger, it could be milk, it could be wheat or gluten or mold. That's another one that's kind of there. There's a lot of environmental stresses that people don't necessarily take into account because it's your normal. But it can be quite tricky getting to the bottom of what it can be. So, for example, histamine as well. Some people can have a really strong response to histamine, which just pushes them over the edge, and that's what triggers their alopecia. Viruses trigger it. So obviously COVID, people have had hair loss as a result of that too. So there's quite a lot of things. And that's why it's not one size fits all. It's not like, for example, you go to a dermatologist, they're going to recommend a steroid cream. That is not going to get to the bottom of your root cause. Putting something on here isn't going to stop your stress, which it sounds really obvious, and it is really obvious, but why aren't people doing it? I don't know.
But I think live in that age of instant gratification, don't we? It's like, if you've got a question, you Google it, you've got an answer within seconds or minutes.
Yeah.
You want to buy something, you go to Amazon or eBay, you click a button, it arrives the next day. It's kind of, so I think there is something about our attitude to life is that I want it now. If I can't get it now, I'm not interested, or, I don't want to put the effort in.
Yeah.
So that's really quite interesting that, it can be a potentially lengthy process, but anything good is worth waiting for ultimately, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, it takes a couple of months to start seeing hair regrowth, but when it starts, it starts, unless you're doing something that's going to impact it again, which you shouldn't be, because obviously it's regrowing. So as long as that continues, it should be fine, but it does take a couple of months for that to kick in. And I must admit, I mean, I do get frustrated with people going, oh, I tried this shampoo and this shampoo worked. And it's like, really? How can a shampoo address an autoimmune disease? Please tell me. I'm fascinated to know. Because that's highly unlikely. But people do want to know that it's an easy thing. So it's, what supplement do I take? What shampoo do I use? What do I apply topically? And if it was that easy, no one would be walking around with alopecia. And that's the thing, it does take work. And my clients who are the most successful, they're really committed. And I think it's really interesting because in order to commit like that to your own health, you have to really prioritize yourself, which that's a difficult thing for people to do. And it's a difficult thing, especially for women to do, to go, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to put myself at the top of all the things I have to do today. I'm going to the top. We just don't do it.
No, well, I do. I think I'm in the minority, and the fact that I don't have children helps me to be able to do that, I think. So I'm in a more fortunate position than many people in that sense. Okay. I'm really interested in purpose and meaning. That's something I'm really passionate about, and something that's become more important to me. And I find generally the people that I work with, they've reached that point where they're looking for that sort of purpose and meaning. So what's yours? What gets you out of bed each day?
I think it's like I mentioned earlier, it's been able to offer that glimmer of hope to people.
Yeah.
And it can be really difficult for them to accept it, especially, like I say, you know, they've been told by consultants, by dermatologists, yeah, sorry, you just got to live with it. It is what it is, kind of thing. And there I am going, actually, you know what? You don't. And I can completely understand people being really skeptical, as in, well, you know what? She's got a cure for alopecia, which I don't. It's literally putting it into remission. Then why doesn't everyone know this? And it is all very straightforward. But for me, it's the hope, and I remember what it was like being the parent who didn't know what to do, and literally it would wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning, worrying about my son. How's school going to be today? Is he going to get bullied? Is he going to feel dreadful? You know, and there have been times where he's called me from school and said, get me, come and get me. And I've dropped everything and gone and got him. And I think those are the people I want to help. And I get contacted by parents all the time. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Is it really common? Is there a lot of alopecia in children?
it's increasing because I guess there's just there's lots of things which I guess trigger it, which are also increasing. So, and I think it's just maybe it's just more talked about. Maybe the fact it's, you know, with social media, people are able to connect and get into groups and things. But the thing is, coaching doesn't work for parents because obviously, I when I coach people, I coach them and we talk about how the lifestyle changes that they make. Whereas if it's a parent, I can't coach by proxy. So what I'm doing is an online course, which is just information for parents that I think if I'd known that back in 2016, my son wouldn't have lost his hair. So if I can save another parent, another child from going through that, then I'm very happy to have done that. That's a pretty good day's work for me.
Yeah, it's kind of like a twofold approach. There's an online sort of learn at your own pace type approach, but then there's the hands-on working with you one to one if they want that additional support.
Yeah, yeah. But like I say, because I don't work directly with children, that's not going to help them. But sometimes the parents themselves are just, you know, they're just really alone and nobody else gets it. Or they'll say things like, it's just hair, or, you know, it's not, because that's the other thing as well. People do, if you see somebody without hair, your first logical thing that you jump to is, oh, you think it's chemo, therefore cancer, therefore, you know, it's a really difficult, sad thing. And then when they hear it's alopecia, they're like, oh, that's fine then. And it's like, well, great. Yes, compared to cancer, it's fine. Which it's really hard though, because obviously, you know, you go out and unless you wear a wig or wear a hat, it's very, very obvious that, you know, this is a condition that you're dealing with. And there are many people who, you know, their extended family don't know that they've got alopecia because they've been so careful and are so concerned about it, and, you know, have been wearing a wig right from the get-go.
Wow. Yeah, and that's hard, isn't it? Having to keep on, it's sort of like keeping up a pretense, I suppose, isn't it? There's a
Yeah.
lot of work in that.
Well, I think
Gosh.
especially for women, people don't talk about it. They don't talk about hair loss. And I think it's one of those things that it happens to a lot of people where as soon as you lose more than is normal, and, you know, normal hair loss is 50 to 100 hairs a day. That's normal, which is actually quite a lot if you think about it. And if you see all that in one go, or you don't wash your hair for a few days, and then you see kind of a couple, 2, 3 days worth in the shower, that looks like a lot. So, but people don't talk about what's normal and what's not. And it you know, we should, because there is always something you can do. Always.
Yeah. Oh, I love that message of hope. I want to talk a bit more about you because that's what this is all about, really. I want to sort of share stories of different people to help motivate other women in terms of, oh, they're great, they're doing great stuff. Maybe I can do great stuff as well. So a lot of it is about that understanding your worth and your value and owning that authenticity,
Mm-hmm.
and not being afraid to shine. So what are the things that you really love about yourself? What's your, your superpower, or the thing that makes you unique that you love about you?
I'd say that I'm a relentless optimist.
Love that.
So, you can literally give me the worst news ever. And yes, obviously it could be devastating, but within an hour or so, I'll be thinking, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? And think, there's always a reason why things happen in a particular way. And I very much, that whole glass half full, that glass should be overflowing. And I think just having that viewpoint that, okay, this is pretty bad. Scale of 1 to 10, this is a 10. But in a few, once it's come and you've kind of processed it a little bit, there will always be something you can do. There will always be a positive upside. And I think that's it's one of the things that, I'm not afraid of change. I embrace change, which sometimes makes it difficult when I'm working with clients, because I'm like, well, this is something that we're looking at and they're really struggling with making that change. And I literally don't get it, because I am really good at change. So, I've moved to different countries literally without not thinking twice about it, but certainly not going, well, what about all the really bad things that could go wrong here? I've literally just gone, okay, this looks like an awesome opportunity. So
I love that.
And a lot of people won't do that. They won't go, well, you know what, I am going to just completely put my life on hold and go to New York for 2 years. And that 2 years became 10. And then, okay, you know what, I've never been to Australia. Let's go and live there. Okay. And then Singapore as well, again, and then back to the UK. So there's a lot of things that I've done that most people would be like, really? What about this and this and this and this? And I, to be honest, sometimes I'm a little bit more, just, I guess I assume things are going to work out. I don't assume that it's all going to be horrible and bad.
Yeah, that's a fantastic trait though, isn't it? Because with that whole kind of fight flight thing, we are programmed to look for what's going to go wrong, to look for the danger, to look for the threat. It's genetically, we're predisposed to do it. So to not have that, or to have it less than other people, is a brilliant thing. And something,
well, not always. Sometimes you're like, yeah, I really should have thought about that a little bit more. It's like my husband said,
better than dwelling on it, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, my husband was talking about how other people's wives would say, when, like if he got a good job opportunity to go wherever, the wives would say no. And he went, but you always said yes. I'm like, yeah.
You're like, what's the worst that can happen? Let's have a go.
Exactly. And it's all good experience.
Spirit of adventure.
Yeah, which means that, my kids have lived all over the world. That because we lived in Asia as white people, they've lived as a minority, which that's an interesting thing to do. And then coming back to the UK, they've had so many different experiences at being a very young age. It's just that they have a completely different worldview because of that. So, and as do I.
Yeah, that's brilliant, isn't it? And that's why I thought, well, there were several reasons I thought you'd be great for chatting to, but that's one of them, because I think many people are sort of risk averse. So to hear someone talk who doesn't have that as their default is really quite inspiring. It makes you kind of go, okay, so nothing terrible happened when she did it, and she's this kind of extreme version of it. So maybe if I just went a little bit towards that, maybe good things could happen for me as well. So that's great. I'm really glad that you shared that. I'm just checking in on the time. So one of my favorite things to work with people on is confidence, because I believe that when you feel confident, when you accept yourself, when you have that self-worth and self-esteem, you can do fantastic things. So that's one of the things that I'm always banging on about, and one of the things that I love to work with people on. Tell me, what are the kind of 1 or 2 things, tips or tools or tricks that you would give people around confidence?
I think a really important thing to remember, a really helpful thing to remember, is that most people aren't that concerned with what you're doing. They've got their own stuff going on. So there you are, worrying that someone's going to think this, or you said this and now they said that, or they think that about you. All of that is such a waste of time and energy, because one, they're dealing with their own stuff. They literally barely have the time to be so worried
We're
about
in our
you.
own heads, aren't we, sometimes, that we just kind of,
Yeah.
because it's important to us, it's going to be important to other people.
Yeah.
And unbeknownst to us, it's just completely passed them by.
Yeah, they literally are totally unaware. And sometimes, you create this big story. Oh, I sent this email and so didn't get back to me. And this means this. It's like, no, that just means that person was busy.
Yeah,
that's what it means.
That's all it was.
They were dealing with their own stuff. It is not a negative thing about you whatsoever. And I think that's something that, people are busy. They've got their own stuff going on, and just worry about yourself and focus on yourself, because nobody else is going to do that for you.
Yeah, that's a really good one as well, isn't it? Yeah, I think investing in you is a huge one, isn't it?
Yeah, and it feels
nobody else
it's quite
will.
a brave thing, right? It's brave to do that. To go, actually, you know what? I am going to prioritize myself. And for a lot of people, that feels very strange to do that. Quite frightening.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and as women, again, as we were saying before, it's one of those things that is more difficult to do, because we feel that there are infinite other things that rest on our shoulders to do, and therefore we can't really prioritize ourselves. So yeah, totally get that. Anyone who's watching, if you've got any questions, pop those in the chat or in the comments section, whilst I just ask Laura some fun questions that I'm always intrigued by. So, cakes, biscuits, love a bit of that, Laura. What's your favourite?
It's kind of difficult. I used to be a gluten-free baker, so I'm probably okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, but gluten-free brownies, I really, really like. There are some cakes which actually you really don't need gluten in, and they're actually better without it. Brownies, in my opinion, are one of those. Biscuits, Anzac cookies, those are New Zealand cookies that are amazing, and you can switch out the butter for coconut oil, and then they're almost healthy. Almost.
Wow.
So I think
I like that.
It's got to be, I don't really go for things that don't have some kind of benefit, and it drives my kids mad. They will literally go, "Can we have something that's not healthy?" No, sorry, I will.
Just give me the junk, Mom. Love it. What about Netflix? Is there something on Netflix that you would recommend, or a podcast, or a YouTube series? Is there anything that you think, yeah, I should tell more people about that?
I really liked on Netflix, I really liked Call My Agent. And I know that that's the French version, and they're currently filming a British version, but the French version was just really good. And I was having this conversation with somebody about why it was so good. And in part, it's because you are reading the subtitles, which means that, you're not on your phone or doing anything else when you're watching that show. Because I know, like, my kids cannot watch TV without having at least 3 other devices open, which is terrible. And it's terrible for them. It's just awful. Whereas if you're watching something that needs subtitles, you will not understand it.
Yeah, that's a really good tip, isn't it?
Yeah, like if you're watching TV, focus on it.
Yeah, do one thing at a time, not 3 things badly.
Yeah.
And final question, guilty pleasure. What's your guilty pleasure?
I do sometimes hide from people in my family. And I literally will be outside in the sun with a book. That's it. And it sounds really lame, I know that. But I don't have the time to sit there, and I don't have the time in the daytime to sit around. So if it's a really nice day, I'll just be like, you know what? I'm going to take half an hour with a book and I'm going to move, the furniture around so people aren't going to be able to find me. I will go and hide somewhere in the garden and just love that peace and quiet. Sad but true.
Brilliant. Whatever lights your fire is what I say. So that brings us to 1 o'clock. It's a hard finish today because I was telling Laura before I started the broadcast, it's my dad's birthday today. Happy birthday, my dad. So Carvery indoors with 5 of us. So it's like, wow. This hasn't happened for, I don't know how many months, but it's been a long time. So I was like, 1:10, so I've got to finish at 1. We're going to hightail it down the road to the Toby Carvery. So I was a bit like, do you not want to go somewhere a bit more special, Dad? It is your birthday. And he was like, no, I like a carvery. So there you go. The man has spoken. A carvery it is. So I will love you and leave you. Thanks so much for joining me, Laura. It's been lovely talking to you.
Yeah, good to see you.
And have a great day, everybody. Catch you later.
See ya.